Hello, good afternoon. Can you all hear me? Good afternoon. I'm not sure if anybody is on, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to proceed with my video here today. It is currently March 20th, 2025. It has been a while since I have been on Facebook to provide you all an update, but I'm starting to see that people are starting to log on. Got one person on, Kenneth. Thumbs up. Thank you for logging on. Thank you guys. There's starting actually 11 people now that are on. So I'm just going to kind of just jump right in and talk a little bit about things that have been going on in these past few weeks since I've last provided an update about council. Again, like I always say, I was accused of being a bully for telling people that if I cause any frustration, if I cause any anger, if I cause anybody to get upset over the information that I'm going to be shared, to delete me. Apparently that is a bullying tactic is what I was told. But I'm not standing behind you and like twisting your arm and telling you that you need to watch me. I'm not forcing you guys to follow me or add me, which is why I make the announcement every single time. There's a good possibility that I will upset you. There's a good possibility that I will cause frustration and anger. So if you need to turn me off, stop following me, delete me, do what you have to do. Don't listen to me. But I'm giving you guys a little bit of fair warning that today there will probably be a lot of frustration and anger coming from some of you, but that's okay. I'm a big girl. I can handle it. If you have any issues with what I'm going to be reporting today, 928-257-0476. Call or text me, 928-257-0476. All right, so we're going to, so I'm going to say hello to a few people who are on. Julia, good afternoon. It looks like we got Lemanuel. I already said hi to Kenneth. We have AB Indian, Aneth Red Mesa that's on. Good afternoon, sister. Ooh, Miss Sarah Lee is on as well. So that's what I can see at this point, although there's 82 people who are watching. I'm going to go ahead and again, this causes frustration, delete me, cut me off. You don't have to listen to me. I'm just going to make it known. And no, that's not being a bully. So I'm going to start off by saying thank you very much for all of you guys who were sending me the video of the female there in Farmington, New Mexico, who showed road rage, which was really, really scary. And who was caught on video making racist remarks to a Navajo about Navajo. I am so proud of the person, who recorded that whole incident. They kept their cool, which is what, you get more props for, for keeping your cool. Hey, Aaron, Sam from Fort Defiance, sorry. So I just want to say, thank you guys for sending me that information. I shared it as soon as I saw it, and my apologies for not seeing it any sooner. I was last week in Washington, D.C. at the Tribal Interior Budget Council, and I was really, really engaged and paying attention to, what was happening because it dealt with, DEI, it dealt with, cuts that were happening, like manpower, funding cuts, so I had to pay really, good attention. And each evening at TBIC, tribal leaders were, calling upon myself and Delegate Vince James, to sit down with them, to talk about, what was happening. So we had so many meetings. let's just say I started my day every day in Washington, D.C. at 5 in the morning. I got up, got ready, went down, had breakfast, went down to Tribal Interior Budget Council meeting. We usually started at 9, and I would sit there until 4 or 5 till we were done. One night we didn't get done until like 6:15, and then we would go to have dinner, and I would get back to my room at 10 in the evening. And so they were very, very long days. And I did want to do an update, but I wind up, because so many things were going on there in Washington, D.C., I wasn't, able to do that update. But I did see that video, and it was really, really disturbing. And I will say that, the best way to approach these things is, as I said, that person remained calm, didn't antagonize, didn't, make anything worse, just basically said, hey, I'm recording you. And we're starting to see a lot of these videos that are coming up on our social media page. There is a lot of racist videos that are coming out right now because of what is happening in this country, because of the current administration, doing what they're doing in terms of the Trump administration. So if you are a Navajo Trump supporter, you probably are going to be pissed off at some of the things that I'm saying, but the truth is it's happening. Racism is starting to stick its nasty, ugly head out. And I always tell people, I am proud to be Navajo. I'm proud to be brown. I'm proud, to wear my turquoise, wear my moccasins. I'm proud to display who I am as a Navajo woman. Well, that wasn't the case there in D.C. And in fact, for those of you who watched the video that I posted yesterday, I did talk briefly about, the triggering words that we were advised not to use, not only by the Trump administration, but also by the Boo Nygren administration. And I will make it very clear that Boo Nygren has stated that we cannot and should not go against what the administration is doing. And I disagree. I disagree 100%. I was not elected to represent Shiprock community and to represent the Navajo Nation, only to sit back, bite my tongue, and not say anything. And anybody who knows me and watches me on council knows that I speak out. I say what needs to be said, and sometimes people don't agree with me. People get frustrated. People get angry, but sometimes as leaders, we have to come out and we have to say what needs to be said. And so I do not agree with the Boo Nygren administration in terms of keeping our mouths shut. I will make it very clear. So what happened with the Navajo Code Talkers, when I found out that website information was removed, I know that me personally, I jumped into action and I started contacting our congressmen and women, as well as our senators, and then also people that I knew who in the Republican Party who may have some some push to try to make change. And I was, getting out the word, letting them know, hey, this is not right. What can we do to restore that information? And I made it very clear that our Navajo Code Talkers are not DEI. Our Navajo Code Talkers did not sign up for the military, and they were not recruited because they were diverse. Our Navajo Code Talkers did not sign up for the military. They were not recruited to be Navajo Code Talkers because of equity. Our Navajo Code Talkers did not sign up for the military, and they were not recruited to take part in the Navajo Code Talker program or the Code Talker program because it was inclusive. The Code Talkers, because there's several Code Talkers, there's several tribes that had Code Talkers. There's Navajo, and then there's different tribes. they signed up for a war when the United States did not even consider many of them to be United States citizens. They fought for this country, and they were not recognized as being United States citizens. So for them to have taken down that information was appalling, and it was horrible to take that, a piece of history. This is history. This is not what's happening right now in present day. We're talking about historical facts that happened, and this information was removed. So again, I immediately jumped into actions, and yes, I have the text messages to prove it. I was on the phone, talking to various congressional leaders, demanding that something be done. And I know, maybe it was a group effort. I'm not really sure, maybe other delegates did the same thing, but there was enough people who reached out for them to restore some of the information. Now, to be honest, I have not checked the website today, or the various websites, only because I just came back from Aneth, where we had a public hearing, and I wanted to update you guys on Facebook. So I put together kind of a brief, I guess maybe agenda so that I can try to keep on track with what I wanted to report on. So I just want you all to know that, and this is where I felt like, our voice cannot be silenced. There are some things that, yes, maybe, I don't know, it depends on who you are. Maybe there's some things that you may not have an opinion on. But when it comes to racism, when it comes to a history, being erased, that's when we need to speak up and we need to say something. So I just, found it very interesting that, again, the Boo Nygren administration, has really been pushing that we, shouldn't say anything because those are, triggering words. But our Navajo code talkers deserve a lot more respect than not saying anything. So I can tell you again, as a delegate, I did spring into action to start, moving, start asking these questions. I also reached out to the Coalition of Large Tribes, where I think there's 21 tribes that are part of that, to say, what can we do to restore this information? And I know that several tribal leaders did reach out to me to say, thank you for sending that information, or thank you for asking that question, because we really do need to get, start speaking up and saying, this is wrong. Because one tribal leader said, it starts with this and it's going to keep going if there's nobody speaking up for, how wrong this, this action was. And I don't agree right now. I do not agree with what is happening in this country. And if you want to delete me for that, that's okay. If you want to hate me for that, that's okay. But I think that a lot of people, who did vote, I don't understand how they can say that they were not expecting what's happening right now. I don't understand that. If you are truly up to date with what's going on in the country, part of that being up to date is being responsible and voting for people that you do your, you do research on. You go out, you find out information. And for me, when I find it really hard when people now are saying, well, I voted for Trump, but I didn't know that this was going to happen. Sure you did. Sure you did. You knew something like this was going to happen, but what you weren't counting on is that it wasn't going to happen to you. And now that it's happening to you, you're finding yourself scratching your head saying, wait a minute, I didn't vote for this. So I don't agree with what they did with their Navajo code talkers, and any code talker for that matter, or any part of history that they want us to forget. We cannot forget our history. We cannot forget what what happened in the past, because I always believe that if we forget that, or if we choose to ignore it, there's a really good possibility that we're going to be making the same mistakes. And we can't afford that. We cannot afford to live in a country that allows racist remarks or racist people to get away with their actions. So again, if you want to delete me, that's okay. This is my opinion, but it's an opinion of an elected person who feels the need to stand up and say something. And right now I am saying that, again, as Navajo people, we have to be very, very careful, because racism is starting to stick its head out. People believe that they can say racist remarks. There are people I know personally who have reached out to me, who have said that, they've experienced racism where they were told, go back to your country. I had one tribal leader actually tell me that that she was dealing with a family that ran into a person who was racist, said that same thing, go back to your country, and they didn't know what to say. And so this is my response, is if you want me to go back to my country, then guess what? I am in my country, because as American Indians and Native Americans, we were here. We were not discovered. We were always here. We were living here. This is where our belly buttons are buried. This is where we come back. This is where we live, where we've been, where we've grown. This is where our history, where our songs, our tradition, our culture, everything is tied here to the land that we live on, for our Navajo people. And we've been very, very fortunate that our original homeland is where we call our great Navajo Nation. So thank you all again for sending me that video. If you guys have any other videos like that you guys want me to post, then send it to me. I don't think there's anything wrong with posting those videos, because it shows our people that this is actually happening, that it's happening to somebody that we know. It's happening maybe to other Navajos. It's happening here. And in this case, it happened here in the Four Corners, just 20 miles from where I live. So if you have any of those videos, I will say, if you experience any racism, just whatever you do, keep calm. And I know it's the hardest thing, because I myself have experienced racism. I know how frustrating it is, and how upset, how upsetting it is, and how angry you want to get, but just keep calm. Because the more that you show your emotions, it's going to heighten that situation. And I would rather you be safe and talk about your experience and share that with all of us, than find yourself in jail or find yourself, hurt. So just be very, very careful out there. But this is the world that we are living in. And I think, honestly, we've always lived in this world. If you've got brown skin, if you're proud to be Navajo, you've always lived in this world. But now, we're really starting to see it. So just be careful. And then, so again, shout out to all of the people who sent me that video. We got it posted. We know the person, but I won't say her name. But, I just appreciate that the Navajo family, or the person, had a leveled head and did not, create a bigger issue. But again, what I saw from that video was road rage, which I as I understand, might be against the law. And then just that racism that came out. So hopefully somebody out there who, is watching, who can address that issue from the legal, maybe from a legal standpoint. So again, last week I was at the Tribal Interior Budget Council. I'll talk a little bit about that, but I will also mention that on Monday I took a little, I took a day off, and I do air quotes because technically I'm still on my phone, I'm answering emails, but there's one thing that you guys may not be, that you guys may not know, but what I like to do when I've got a day off or when I've got, some time is, especially if it's on a Monday, is I love going to the cow house auction in Kirtland. I could spend hours there. I love it. I love, the livestock coming in. I love, like listening to, people placing their bids on how much they want to pay for certain animals. And I myself, I'm not like a certified cowgirl or anything. I have sheep, I have geese, I have a donkey, I once had a pig, so I guess I kind of had a little farm. But I'm interested in buying a horse, but I'm trying to educate myself in what I want in a horse. And so I've been going to the auction for the last 3 years whenever I get a chance. And I just love it. So if you see me there at the cow house auction, I'm not there every Monday. This past Monday just happened to be a day that I could, there was a Law and Order Committee meeting that didn't happen. And it wasn't Monday. So I thought, you know what, why not? So I sat there with my husband and we just enjoyed watching that whole thing transpire. And it was very interesting because I also got invited to go to the Cortez livestock auction that happens in Cortez on Wednesdays. And I mean, it sounds really amazing. I know that my dad used to go to the Cortez, livestock, he used to go there to the auctions there in Cortez. When I was young, I used to love sitting with him, watching, and the best, like watching all the animals, through the auction process. But the best part was when my dad would take us to go eat at that little counter there at the Cortez auction. It was like a little restaurant. And I remember they had the best cheeseburger deluxe. Of course, I was young, didn't have the kind of palate that I have right now in terms of eating food, but it was so amazing. But it was good. It was awesome. So I do want to state that because I know there was some people, who were there, and I don't want them to think, oh, she's just, clowning around. I had somewhat of a day off, so I went there. I also want to tell you that I also on Monday got to watch I kind of did a little bit of binge watching because I woke up super early. But if you haven't watched it, it's like really, it's not for children. But there's a movie called Adolescence on Netflix. Oh my God. It's just really, it's sad. It's really, really sad. But it's kind of a reality that's happening right now. You just have to watch it. It's about a 13-year-old boy who gets accused of I guess murdering his classmate, and like it's like three episodes. So 3 or 4 episodes. But if you haven't, like, watch it. I mean, if you can stomach it. There's some violence in it, but it's really just focused on like the different parts. There's so many different parts. So just, I'm just giving you a little bit of fair warning there. Okay. All right. So news. Now you guys want to know about the news. So, first off, I will say that we just conducted public hearings for the chief. We've had several public hearings for the Chief Justice. The Chief Justice, so the way that the law is written is the Chief Justice, Joanne Jane, in January of 2018, she was appointed as a probationary Chief Justice. And technically, the probationary period was supposed to be for 2 years. However, if you do the math, you probably have already figured out that there was something huge that was happening on the Navajo Nation and in, across the entire United States in 2020, and that was called COVID. So the 2-year probationary term for the Chief Justice, we were supposed to address it in 2020. However, because of COVID, we couldn't. So 2020, we had COVID. 2021, we had COVID. All the way, and then 2022 was kind of like a wonky year, like we knew about COVID, it was still here, but, there was that question of, can we travel? Can we still do large gatherings? How do we go about this whole, what's happening with COVID? And so here we are in 2025, and we're finally having the public hearing for the Chief Justice. It is written in the law. We have to have a public hearing. And the public hearing gives the people the opportunity to talk about whether the Chief Justice did a good job in that time that she was a probationary judge, or whether she did a bad job. So it's basically satisfactory or unsatisfactory. So that's what the Law and Order Committee, has been doing these past few weeks. So we started in Tuba City. We started back on February 19th. We started in Tuba City. However, we ran into a little bit of an issue that we had to address. So we had to postpone Tuba City's hearing. We had to postpone Chinlee's hearing, and then Kayenta's hearing. And so all that happened, and we just postponed it to address, the issue that was at hand. And, we got it addressed. So then we started moving forward with the hearing. So we started on March 5th in Crown Point with the Chief Justice's hearing. So what we're trying to do is the Law and Order Committee is visiting every community where there's a district court located. And we're gathering public testimony. So if you want to go to these testimony hearings, and you want to provide testimony, and you want to say, what, I had a case, and that case went through the district courts, and it got to the Supreme Court, and everything was fantastic. We, had a good, the whole process was, smooth, and it was great. Or, if you had an issue with your case, maybe there was an issue at the district court, because the Chief Justice oversees the entire judicial branch. So if there was an issue that maybe you ran into, you can say, what, I'm still waiting for my for the courts to come back to give me my ruling. I don't know, what is happening with my case. These are things that we are wanting to hear, because the Chief Justice is the chief administrator of the judicial branch. Or if your case went to the Supreme Court and maybe it took 7 years to get there. So these are what we've been doing. So again, March 5th, we were in Crown Point. March 6th, we were in Tohajale. March 7th, we were in Alamo. And then last week we were at the Tribal Interior Budget Council, and then we reconvened again. Today we were in Aneth. Tomorrow we will be here in Shiprock. And then next week on Monday, we canceled our Law and Order Committee meeting so that we can have a public hearing for the Chief Justice in Tuba City on Monday. On Tuesday, it's going to be in Kayenta. And then on Wednesday, it's going to be in Chinlee. And then we move into April. So on April 2nd, we'll have the Chief Justice's public hearing in Rama. And then on April 3rd, we'll have it in Pinon. And then April 4th will be in Delcon. And then April 11th, we're going to end in Window Rock. So if you want to come out and you want to provide public testimony, on the judicial branch or the Chief Justice, I encourage you to come out and provide testimony. It might be, positive, testimony. It might be negative testimony. But in the end, what will happen is the Law and Order Committee, by law, if we say she was a good Chief Justice based on the evaluations that we've received, based on, the testimonies that we've received, because we look at the evaluation, we look at, the evaluation is given from other practicing attorneys that have come before the court. The evaluation is given by the staff of the judicial branch or, the Supreme Court. We look at public testimony that's being provided. And, we look at really everything. Then the Law and Order Committee either has to vote satisfactory. And if we vote satisfactory, so there has to be a majority vote. So if we give a thumbs up to the Chief Justice and say, yeah, Chief Justice, you did good, then it proceeds forward to Boo. Boo is just probably going to do his press release. He doesn't really do anything. And then it goes to counsel for confirmation. So basically, Chief Justice proceeds forward, President congratulates her, and then it goes to counsel for confirmation. But if the Chief Justice, if the Law and Order Committee says, you know what, we looked at everything, it's not satisfactory, then at that point, it stops. She doesn't go forward to the President. She does not go forward to counsel for confirmation. So it's a very big responsibility of the Law and Order Committee to proceed forward with this public hearing. That's why we're asking the public, to provide comments to us. You just show up. You're given 5 minutes to provide, your comments. You sign in. And then, we hear the testimony. So that has been going on, and we've been working on that, for the past few weeks, which is why we have been doing a lot of travel. So again, we started off in Tuba City. That one was postponed. We picked up in Crown Point. We went to Tuahajale, and then we went to Alamo. We came back. Last week was Tribal Interior Budget Council, and then we started again this week. So there's been a lot of things that have been going on, which is why I haven't been updating. Again, my apologies for that. I also want to update you guys on the Tribal Interior Budget Council. So the Tribal Interior Budget Council, let me take a sip of my water. So the Tribal Interior Budget Council is a very important process. It deals with the federal funds that come down to Indian country. Now, when I say that, I need to be clear. Let me see if I can draw it out for all of you, because it's such an important part of our funding source. So there are technically two major. So there's different pots of money, but I'm going to talk mainly about general funds and then what's called our K accounts. So our K accounts could be grants that are given from the state or the federal government. Our K accounts could also be funds given by the state. So New Mexico is one that, New Mexico is the only one that really technically gives funding to Navajo Nation. So there are K accounts. Then you also have, so this is state funds. Then you also have federal funds that give money. And this could be in what we call our 638 contracts. General funds provide money for services, and we're going to talk about the FY25. So to help you, let me see if I can, is this backwards? Is it backwards? Can you guys see it? Is it backwards? Okay, while you guys are thinking about it, so let me, maybe I can flip it around. So we have, so you have two basically pots of money. So you have your general funds money, and again, this is services, and then you have your K accounts. And it could be like your grant money, which could come from the state or the federal. Sometimes this grant money might also come from private. Your K account also could be funds that come from the state, which technically New Mexico is the only state that gives the Navajo Nation money. Your K account could also be federal funds, which would be like your 638 contract money. Okay? Now this is important because your 638 contract money, so every division and department has, if they get 638 contract money, it could also just be like federal funds to fund programs. All right. So a good example is the burial service. I always use burial service because I think that this is the most widely used service across the Navajo Nation. All right. So for your federal funds, whether it deals with the 638 contract or whether it deals with your programs, it usually goes through, your federal programs. All right. So, how I explain it is at the federal level. So POTUS, which is a way of saying President of the United States, POTUS creates a budget. And this budget is usually created like around February. Then once POTUS comes up with the budget, this gets sent down to Congress. So it gets sent down to the House and it gets sent down to the Senate. Okay? Now, the House and the Senate, they might come back and say, you know what? We agree with POTUS's budget. Yeah, we're going to vote on it. That's very, very rare. Because what you oftentimes hear is it turns into a fight, right? So then you have House versus Senate. And the House and the Senate send it down to their committees. And their committees, they start having these committee hearings. And that's where they say, okay, the money that you guys are getting right now, is it enough? So I recently provided testimony back in November to the Senate Appropriations Committee. So that was one way when they said, okay, when we're talking about public safety and justice, are you guys receiving enough money? Okay. So with that being said, once these guys make their decision on their budget, which we know this past Friday, there was the third continuing resolution that was passed by the federal government. We are now in our third continuing resolution. But once the actual budget gets passed, then at that point, there is money that gets assigned down to the, I guess it would be like the departments and to programs. And this is at the federal level. So one department is the Department of Interior, which we call DOI, Department of Interior. Now, if you guys watch my video, I talked about the responsibilities of the Bureau of Indian Affairs and the Bureau of Indian Education, because under the Department of Interior, I believe they have 11 bureaus. Two of those bureaus are BIA and BIE, Bureau of Indian Affairs, Bureau of Indian Education. Now, once the budget is set, the budget is going to say, this is how much money we're given to each of the departments. So the Department of Interior gets a budget. That budget, they have to divide it into 11 bureaus, but it's not evenly divided. So by the time it comes down to the BIA and to the BIE, they get funding. And then it's at this point here, once the BIA and the BIE get their funding, then what happens is they have a what's called a tribal consultation. And that's where they say, you know what, we got to meet with the tribes. So they do this tribal consultation, and that's part of that's what the Tribal Interior Budget Council is, which we call TIBIC. It's that tribal consultation. So what the Department of Interior says is, okay, BIA and Bureau of Indian Education, you guys got this much money, so how do you guys want to break it down? So TIBIC then, at that point, I'm going to put my phone down because I'm going to grab something from my bag so I can show you guys. Give me 1 second. Okay, so I'm explaining this to you guys because you'll see how important this is. So once it's determined, then what happens is, this is what I shared at Northern Agency. In the last budget, Department of Interior got $14.8 billion. But by the time it got to the Bureau of Indian Affairs, BIA got $2.46 billion. Bureau of Indian Education received $1.37 billion. And then the Bureau of Trust Fund, BTFA, I think it's Trust Fund Administration, received $100 million. I always forget what BTFA stands for. But all three deal with American Indians and Alaska Natives. BIA, so once they got this money, that's where they do that tribal consultation, and they say, we want to meet with the tribes. So the tribes, they have to submit their rankings, and these are the rankings that the tribe submits. Okay, hold on. So these are the categories. Sorry, I should have pulled it out. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Here it is. Oh, I guess I didn't bring it. So their rankings are submitted. So for instance, Navajo submitted their rankings. Here it is, Navajo region. So Navajo then has to rank their priorities. And so they have to decide the different, like the topics are strengthening tribal communities, public safety and justice, trust, natural resource management, economic development, education, trust, land and water rights management, construction, and The last one is resource management construction. Okay? So, public safety and justice. Navajo ranked public safety and justice number 1. They also ranked strengthening tribal communities as number 2. They ranked education as number 3. Now, every tribe submits these ranking tools. And what happens is once they submit those ranking tools, that's when Department of Interior says, oh, hey, we met our requirement. We had our tribal consultation and the tribes have submitted their rankings. So Navajo is only one region. That's the Navajo region. So when we submit our rankings, we have to go in, basically ready to fight for funding, because remember, that funding is here. So this is one way that council can get involved to fight for federal funding. And so when I went there to the Tribal Interior Budget Council, I talked about the importance of our irrigation because of the Navajo Indian irrigation projects. I talked about the importance of the Bureau of Indian Education because Navajo has the most BIE boarding schools and grant schools. I talked about the importance of public safety and justice, which is not only our police force, but also our tribal courts. And then, I talked about the importance of funding in terms of assets, or actually funds that have been frozen. So I talked a little bit about that because BIA has control. IHS Indian Health Services, they're under a different department. I think they're under Department of Department of Health. But that's a separate one. They have a separate tribal consultation. Okay, so we're talking about BIA. So when we go there, we talk about, how important, it is to either keep our money at where it's at right now, don't take away any more funding from us, or give us a little bit more money. Well, this year was a little bit different because we had to argue and we had to fight for BIA to keep their employees. And so we made the argument as tribal leaders on Wednesday. We made the argument that our employees under the Bureau of Indian Affairs and the Bureau of Indian Education, we cannot afford to lose them. So all of this thing that's happening with Doge, we stood up as tribal leaders to say, no more. We're already, we are already experiencing a shortage of manpower. So every year we come here, we fight for money, 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 money. This is the first time ever we're fighting for our staff to stay where they're at. We're fighting for BIA employees because we were already underfunded. We were already underfunded and we were already, shortage of manpower. So we went there with the message of, we cannot afford to take these hits in Indian country. So as tribal leaders, we stood together on Wednesday. Man, I tell you, it was so awesome. I felt great. I delivered my statement. I shared it with all of you on Facebook. I posted it yesterday. We were all in agreement. We all as tribal leaders said, okay, don't make us go through this, but if we have to, we're going to take it to the hill. We're going to stand up and we're going to fight not only for the employees of Bureau of Indian Affairs and Bureau of Indian Education, but we're going to fight for our veterans. We're going to fight for the Veterans Administration. We are going to fight for our teachers under the Department of Education. We are going to fight for for any program that provides services to Indian country, because we're already experiencing a shortfall of funds, and we're already experiencing, a shortage of manpower. So why would you want to cut these even more when those services are being provided to Indian country? We had a united message. Boy, howdy, were we all, we were feeling good. We left on Wednesday, we gave it to the man, meaning Department of Interior, Bureau of Indian Affairs, Bureau of Indian Education. But we took that message, we even took it to the Hill, and we said, look, we can't do that. We went to Department of Justice and we said, hey, DOJ, we need somebody assigned to do, cases here, federal cases on Navajo. Don't cut any more of our manpower. We can't do that to our people. Don't cut any more of our funds, which include our grants. We had such a great empowering message. And then, wonk, wonk, wonk. Thursday, we got a 1 minute, actually it was a 1.5-minute speech. It wasn't even a speech. We got a 1.5 minutes of Boo, who came on Thursday in the morning. Remember, he wasn't there all week. Boo was in Las Vegas at the Res conference. He showed up on Thursday morning. He sat down and said, oh, yeah, we support the administration. Good job. We're here. We stand behind you. Navajo stands behind you. And there were eyes looking at me, and I didn't know what to say. And I say eyes looking at me because they were looking at Boo. They were looking at Speaker Curley, who was sitting right beside Boo. I was sitting opposite of them on the other side of the room. And it was a confusing message because a lot of tribal leaders said, I thought we were all in agreement. And at Tibic, Boo's known as the kid. So, a lot of the tribal leaders will say, hey, where's the kid? What's up with the kid? What's the kid up to? Hey, I hear the kid is in trouble again. So that was, it was his talk was 1 minute, and it was less than 1 minute and 30 seconds. He spoke, and I'm going to exclude the part where he said, oh, I'm here with delegate so-and-so, delegate so-and-so, delegate. So he mentioned all of the delegates who were in attendance. And it was a very disappointing to hear. So he flew from Las Vegas to Washington, D.C., spoke for 1.5 minutes, left the Tribal Interior Budget Council, where we were talking about the budget, to fly back to Albuquerque to make it back for the basketball championship game. As a leader, our priority should be focused on the funding and the manpower that affects our services on Navajo, not a basketball game. So before you guys jump all on top of me and say, well, she doesn't support basketball, championships. I support them, but I know that my priority is to the Navajo people. I support, when our children are going forward, but our children need some comfort in their future. And it starts with leadership. It starts with leaders standing up and speaking and saying this is wrong. It starts with our leaders standing up and saying this is what we need. This is what is happening. So I was appalled at him being there for less than an hour, making that 1 minute speech. He got up and he left. We didn't know where he went. He assigned Arvin Mitchell to be, to be his proxy. Of course, he would never assign me, but that doesn't stop me from speaking up. Because Speaker and I, we go back and forth in terms of sharing the mic. But I'm sorry. And I know that his aunt, Jose Tkachitnino, is always like making those comments, and she's probably on right now saying that we shouldn't be crying at the federal government for funding. Well, we need those federal fundings. And people can say, well, we're sovereign. We need to do this and that. The reality is we depend on federal funding because per the treaty states that the government is supposed to be providing basic services to our Navajo people. And those basic services are funded. And that's how we provide services. So going back to this here, when the federal government doesn't give us what we need, then we have to tap into our general funds. And that's why these general funds become so important. And that's why we're always saying, how are delegates bringing revenue back to general funds? Because imagine if you woke up tomorrow and let's say IHS is gone. How many of you have health insurance? How many of you guys can afford hospital bills? I know I can't. So we have to fight for these funding. We have to fight for this money. So Boo went there and he bragged, oh, I had an hour with, Secretary Burgum. We talked about this. We talked about that. Okay. So where are your talking points? What did you talk to Burgum about? Because at council over here where we're doing all the heavy lifting, we're attending these meetings, we're sitting through, we're taking time away from our community. We're taking time away from our family so that we can fight for funding, so that we can fight for the manpower that's needed on Navajo to deliver services, so that we can speak up and say that things are not, they're not right, so that we can do these things. And yet you have the money to fly to deliver 1 minute and 30 seconds speech and leave, and then fly back to the basketball tournament. Boo, if your priority was basketball tournaments, then stick to it and leave the work to us. Step down from the Tribal Interior Budget Council. Give your voice and your vote to somebody who cares. A delegate who can speak up, a delegate who cares, a delegate who's not afraid to say something when it's time to say something. Don't waste the people's money. You flew from Las Vegas to Washington, D.C. for 1 minute and 30 seconds of saying we agree with the Trump administration. Navajo supports you. We're behind you. Good job. When the day before, if you were there, Boo, you would have heard tribal leaders talking about what is happening in their community. You would have heard people talking about what these funding shortfalls mean, what these, slashing of manpower, what it means to their community. And I was just really appalled at that, seeing that. And I questioned, where did he go? What happened? What's going on? And nobody knew until we were told, oh, he left. He left? He left before we could even start talking about this? He left? Are you serious right now? I have never, ever been as pissed off as I was that day hearing that. Because all of you who are watching right now, and you may not agree with me, you may be bashing me, you may be saying I'm a horrible, delegate, I'm a horrible leader, but know that I am fighting for every single one of you out there. I don't pick and choose and say, I'm speaking up for Daryl Sosey, I'm speaking up for Tilly Yazzie, I'm speaking up for these people. No, I don't get to pick and choose. I speak up for all Navajo people. And I know that our Navajo people need services. So to have Boo show up for 1 minute, and well, he showed up for an hour, but he spoke 1 minute and 30 seconds, less than 1 minute and 30 seconds, only to deliver the message that, yeah, we support the administration. If you need something from Navajo, just call on us. Yeah, everything is good. Good job. When the day before, tribal leaders said, no, you guys are not doing a good job. You guys are not speaking up for us. You guys are not providing, any policy changes that will impact in a positive way the Navajo people or even Indian country. I was really appalled. And at first I thought, maybe he's going to go meet with, other representatives. I don't know. But I do know that on Facebook, there was his face at the championship basketball game. And I have said it over and over again. Boo, if you want to go travel the world, go travel. Go do it. Because the Navajo people did not sign the petition to remove you or to recall you. Go do it. But send somebody who's going to do the work. If that's the vice president, send the vice president. At least, we can catch her up to speed. And we kept saying this over and over and over again. So it's very clear, and this is the message that I will be sending to all of you. It is clear that Boo's priority is to attend basketball games and not fight for funding like we were doing at the Tribal Interior Budget Council. And we didn't actually get to the budget until Friday afternoon. But Boo was long gone by that point. And it was only Speaker and Arbin because they were the only two authorized to speak. But, for me, I don't care because as a tribal leader, I'm there. I am there from start to finish. I am there from 9 o'clock in the morning to 5 o'clock in the morning. There are some delegates that show up and they're in and out of the room. I don't know where they go. I mean, of course, they don't have to tell me where they're going. But I left one time, and that was to go to a meeting with the Department of Justice. During the entire week, I left Wednesday afternoon, or was it Thursday afternoon? Thursday afternoon. I left very quickly. We left Vince James in charge, and then, of course, President left Arbin Mitchell in charge because Arbin's his boy. And myself and Speaker Curley, we went to the Department of Justice where we were later, joined by 2 other delegates. And we talked about the importance of unresolved cases, federal cases that have not been prosecuted. So we talked about that with the Department of Justice and the importance of assigning at least one federal agent as well as one federal prosecutor to handle cases on Navajo that get referred for federal prosecution. So that was our message. Both Speaker and I, tag teamed it a little bit in terms of, what needs to be said. And, that was, again, and then we rushed back because as soon as we rushed back, they were talking about additional funds that were coming down, that we could put money towards. And I know that burial service was one. So we requested more money to go for burial services, because we do get federal funding from burial services. Whatever, we don't meet, that's where general funds, Navajo Nation money supplements that so that we can provide those services. So that's just one example. There's other examples that might include like the clothing program. There's other examples that might include like veterans housing. Scholarships is another one. So scholarships do come down through the Bureau of Indian Education. So all of this, we talked about it. All of this, we started, moving things forward. And what happened was the tribes voted. And I'm looking for that because I think it might be. I'm trying to look at all of the rankings. Ouch. Oh, here we go. So the tribes, the regions actually ranked number 1, and these are the rankings, and I'll show them to you right now. This is the way the tribes, and remember, Navajo was a part of it. So number 1 is strengthening tribal communities. Number 2 rankings is public safety and justice. Number 3 is trust, natural resource management. Number 4 is economic development. Number 5 is education. Number 6 is trust, land and water rights management. Number 7 is construction. And then number 8 is resource management construction. So after all of that, we submitted our rankings. And then just to be clear, Boo did not submit his rankings. Because Navajo has 2 votes, 2 voices, okay? The speaker submitted the rankings, and that's where we made public safety and justice number 1, and we made strengthening tribal communities number 1. Number 2 was public safety and justice. Number 3 was education. Boo did not submit his rankings. There were several emails that went out where speaker kept asking his office, we need your rankings. We need your rankings. We need you to submit your rankings. Let's sit down. Let's have a meeting. Let's talk about this. He never did it. Never. So that's why I was mad. I was very, very upset. So now what happens is, public safety and justice, which is, why I was out there, because I'm always advocating for more law enforcement, for more services. So what happened is, based now on the public safety and justice, then it goes into what's called subcategories. So under public safety and justice, remember it's 2. Public safety and justice came in number 2. So this is the subcategories. So number 1, the tribes ranked tribal courts number 1. Number 2 was criminal investigations and police services. And then number 3 was tribal justice support. Then it goes to fire protection. Navajo Nation, we do get some BIA fire protection. So this is BIA. This is not Navajo Nation Fire Department. Navajo Nation Fire Department is funded by Navajo Nation. And then right under that is law enforcement special initiatives, facilities, operations, and maintenance. This is important because we're trying to build new facilities on the Navajo Nation. Then you have detention and corrections, that was rated down here. Indian Police Academy, Navajo Nation doesn't, we don't benefit from this, so this one doesn't really affect us. Law enforcement program management, and then inspections or internal affairs. This is BIA internal affairs. Okay? So that's how important the Tribal Interior Budget Council meeting is. And it was a little bit frustrating to you know, to be a part of, knowing that number one, Boo didn't submit the ranking tools, and number two, he was only there for, he only spoke for 1 minute and 30 seconds. He didn't talk about this. He didn't say, you know, that as Navajo, you know, president, I think we need to make police, you know, like we need more law enforcement. So we need more money there. Maybe it's because he got 6 police officers that are taking care of him. I don't know. But I'm going to leave it at that. I was so frustrated. And I keep telling him, you know, if you can't make the Tribal Interior Budget Council a priority, then give up your seat. And he won't. He gave up his seat to Justin Ahosting. And we said, whoa, whoa, whoa. Justin is not a tribal leader. He wasn't elected. Which community voted for Justin Ahosting? Because now Justin Ahosting is his new chief of staff. Now he said Arbin Mitchell, you know, is going to take his seat. So he left. So Arbin did take his seat, but Arbin is not very vocal. So again, I speak up, I speak out. You know, there was a comment made that I took it as a joke because the chair, Ron Harris, said, you know, he said, okay, so before you speak, say your name, you know, which tribe you're with, and then you can go in and you can, you know, start with your comments or whatever questions that you might have. So I had my hand raised, and he kind of smiled, and he looked and he said, Eugenia, he says, you don't need to introduce yourself. I think we all know who you are, and, you know, we know where you come from. And he was like, so, you know, you don't have to do that. But I did it anyway. You know, I just said, for those of you who don't know me, I said, my name is Eugenia Charles Newton. I am Navajo. I said, I'm on the 25th Navajo Nation Council. And, you know, these are the issues that I have, or these are, you know, the questions that I have. And so that's kind of how it started that Wednesday morning. But like I said, you know, after the introductions were done, we went into testimony. I posted my testimony so you guys have it. You guys know that it's there. Just know that I am, you know, working hard for all of you, speaking out, you know, about some of these things that I do find troubling. And right now, I don't like DE, you know, I don't like the fact that they removed DEI, diversity, and then there's inclusion, and then E stands for equity. I'm sorry, DEI, division, equity, inclusion. So, you know, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with what DOJ is doing. I don't agree with, you know, with the Department of Education being dismantled. I don't agree with the racism that we're starting to see here in this country. I don't agree, you know, that they are, you know, I know that one person who's a Trump supporter, who's a veteran here in Shiprock, you know, had made the comment, well, they're only, like right now, the, what is it called? I always forget what they're called, but they're the people who take away individuals who are not, like the immigration enforcement, I think it's called. And they said, well, they're only here taking away those who, you know, who are criminals. If it was so straightforward and clear, why are there people who are bringing lawsuits? Why is there a federal judge right now who has ruled that individuals, not everyone who has been deported are criminals? For instance, we know that there was a doctor who was, you know, deported. You know, some people, like, they're such supporters that they are excusing what is happening. And I don't understand that. I don't understand how you can be proud and say, I'm Navajo, I'm brown, I have black hair, I'm, you know, I respect my culture, I respect my people. and yet make excuses for what is going on. Make excuses that the Navajo Code Talker information could be removed from websites because it's considered to be DEI. I don't understand that. And maybe for the Navajo Trump supporters, maybe you can help and you can explain it to me without talking about hate, without talking about racism, without talking about, the fact that I'm not, that I'm res. Maybe you can explain it to me, but what I'm seeing right now and the way that our services are being affected right now, we have to say something. We have to speak up. Because heaven forbid something as important as Indian Health Services goes away and nobody says nothing. So I will just end there and say that, there's a lot of things that are going on right now, but I'm going to talk about the FY25 budget. But before I do, I want to show you guys a clip. And I was really surprised that I didn't see a lot of people talking about it, because for me it's concerning. Because remember when we go back to, the K accounts, that delegates are, we're trying to keep the funding that we have. At the budget council meeting that we had a few weeks ago, actually maybe it's been a month now, we had Division of Family Services come before council. We had heard rumors of the Division of Family Services, that there were funding, that they were using federal funds for events or for, I think, like right now, Nigrin newspaper could possibly be using federal funds. We were told that on the floor by the controller. It is on the record. Council was informed that there is concern because there's some federal funds that are being used and they're being shuffled around for booze projects. Okay? So with that being said, what I will say is that the Division of Family Services, it is currently being run right now by Thomas Cody. Thomas Cody was a former delegate, I understand. He's the nephew of Tom Chi. He's also the nephew, like the Chi family in the Loop area. Casey Allen Johnson, who is the delegate from Loop, and Thomas Cody are cousins, is the way that it was explained to us, okay? So whenever there's questions, of course we've seen videos, Casey just kind of chimes right in. There's always point of order called on me and Vince, there's always accusations that we're being bullies, all of these, but I want to show you a little clip. Because the Navajo Division of Family Services is one of the divisions where we get a lot of complaints that, services are not being rendered to the Navajo people. For instance, the Division of Family Services has financial assistance, so like general assistance, burial assistance, LIHEAP is under Division of Family Services, so that's low income home energy assistance. Navajo school clothing and school supply programs, those are, under there. There's treatment programs like the Navajo Treatment Center for Children and Their Families, outpatient family counseling. Navajo Child Welfare is under the Division of Family Services, and they also help, with the disability assistance. But I'm bringing this all to you, and you can go to their website, and you can, if you go to their website, Navajo Division of Children and Family Services, and you click on the programs, these are all of the programs that are under that, under the Division of Family Services, okay? And so all of this is under there. This is where some of the financial assistance that you can get, right? So where we had some issues is, and I'll go ahead and bring up the clip, and I'm going to let you guys watch it, okay? And I will explain it after you guys watch it. Here we go. It's about 10 minutes long, so I'm just giving you some fair warning. But just I guess to just kind of give you some general information. I asked a question because we heard that $18,000 was used for the Cody Jesus event. So the Division of Family Services paid $18,000 for one of those little, at the rodeo arena there in Window Rock, they have those little, what do they call? Like they're like the like people can sit in it. I don't know what it's called. But he paid $18,000 for that one day. So let me bring you guys up to speed and you guys can watch it yourself. So it does start around 5 hours and 53 minutes and 15 seconds. Here we go. And this is Thomas Cody.
Thank you. Delegate Newton, Charles Newton. We used $18,000 for our event. It was for children and families that attended a rodeo. We had kids from Taos. We had Hogan Hojoni kids there. We also had the St. Michael's kids there. Those are our core group that we invited there. Plus we invited the other Navajo Nation children and families. So, and then I also have your Facebook Live, your Facebook post that you thought it was an excellent program for families and children. So I hope you agree with me that was money well spent because we did it for the whole family. It wasn't for, and it was a Cody Jesus kid. So if Cody Jesus event was, he grew up, and his story, if you see his story, he grew up something similar to all of us. And he made it big. And that we're showcasing that to these young children, you too can become a Cody Jesus. You too can become a rodeo star, a bull riding star, a roping star. Eben, yeah, that's what we're doing, Shananta. And that's how we spent that money. Shananta, Andinez, so Dr. Andinez, so a lot of the money that we have, they're just lumped, and the justifications are very vague. If you would like for us to run the numbers of how many events we helped you with, we could do that. So that money that we help with doing community events, it comes directly out of this pot. So I have no other way to explain this, the money that we're trying to save. You're welcome to take the furnitures. I think that's fine with me. But the program dollars that we use at your chapters, that we give to children and families, that's the amount that I think you should be taking. You're welcome to take some of the travel. That would just limit the amount of travel that we do, because our social workers, our staff that we work in our office do a lot of the traveling also. So sometimes we can't do a lot of the traveling or purchasing of food for a program. That's what we use these monies for. And that will be my last justification of why I would like to keep this money. Oh, and then we also did food boxes. We did food boxes during the derailment, 20 food boxes that we prepared and we took out there. So those are the kind of material, because you don't have the money to do it. You don't have the so-called discretionary fund that we had when I was a delegate. So we're helping your people at the local level, and it's just not here in Window Rock, and it's
So earlier, Andy Naz asked him kind of similar questions, like, why are you spending, these funds? And I found it very interesting how he was like, I can tell you how we helped your community. $18,000 is a lot of money. $18,000 could have, let me show you, $18,000 if it could have helped 18 people for general assistance, maybe even more. It could have helped 18,000. Imagine, that probably would have been maybe 2 burials. 18,000. How many electricity bills could have been paid out there? 18,000. How much school supplies or clothing for our children could have been used with that $18,000? His justification was, well, we opened it up for the families, we opened it up for the children, but the report that some delegates got was that they opened it up for just like maybe a few, like 30 minutes. They opened it up, and for the kids, there was alcohol found in those booths. They're like the private VIP booths. And his staff even text me to say that is a lie. Those kids were in there for a short while. It was mainly for the employees. And I just could not believe it that he could justify spending $18,000 in one day for a VIP box for an event and saying, well, the kids needed to see Cody Jesus. They need to know that, that they could be the next Cody Jesus. So did we technically pay Cody Jesus $18,000 to not meet with the kids, but to show them what he does? And this is no beef against Cody Jesus. I've met him. He's a very nice young man. But $18,000 when we have kids out there who need assistance with school or supplies, when we have families out there that can't pay for their electricity, they can't pay for their water, people out there who need general assistance, people with disabilities who might reach out to this DFS to get assistance. And you want to sit there and justify that, Chair Charles Nguyen, even you stated, yes, I did state. I said, you know what, this is a great event. Go take your families. I did not say program spend $18,000 so that you can have a VIP box at the Cody Jesus event. I encouraged families to attend the event, and I did not know that our divisions would be spending money like that to purchase these VIP boxes. And I was appalled to hear what he was saying. $18,000. How many of you have a $300 electricity bill that you were denied from Division of Family Services? You were denied from LIHEAP because you were told, peso aten, we have no more money. We don't have the funds. How many of you parents out there applied for your school clothing or even asked for assistance for school supplies and you were told there was no more money? How many of you guys out there for your burial services? Well, how many of you were denied burial services? Well, this guy is spending $18,000 for a rodeo event that lasted only one day in Window Rock. federal funds, I sure hope not. If it's general funds, as council, we should be holding him accountable. And that day, there were only 3 of us holding him accountable. Andy Nez, Vince James, and myself. So I was appalled. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to flip it because he's going to go on further and you guys will hear it.
Thank you, Mr. Cody. And going back to reserve time, colleagues, we have Chair Regina Charles Newton with 15 seconds.
I'm sorry, Speaker, before you run my time, I'm going to call a point of privilege.
Point of privilege raised by Chair Regina Charles Newton.
Thank you, Speaker. I call this a point of privilege under Rule 16, under the Council Rules of Order B, where it were to receive additional comments about what was stated. I understand, Mr. Cody, that I guess 18,000 you just now explained was for the rodeo event. You said it's for the kids. Were those kids in that one special, like the nice little first class thing? And then do you have proof of that? Because I'm asking because we get reports about families that need help out there. And I know there's a few from Shiprock. I've been CC'd in those emails that were sent to you that haven't been addressed yet. So for me, I think when I posted that event about Cody Jesus a while ago,
Chair, if you could just strictly direct to your point of privilege.
My point of privilege is, were they inside of that little first class, I don't know what it's called, Speaker, the little boxes, the booths? Because that's what you get when you sponsor, right? You get a booth. Okay. So were all of those children in the booth? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. And going for that point of privilege for that information, Mr. Cody, if you could just directly answer that point of privilege.
Yes, they were.
Thank you, Mr. Cody. And back for debate time, Chair Regina Charles Newton, 15 seconds. Point of privilege.
Thank you, Speaker. So I asked for proof. So if I can get that, maybe there's a picture that was done with all the kids in that booth. I'd like to see that. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Chair. And Mr. Cody, if there is any type of report or any documentations. Mr. Cody?
So that Eugene Charleston, I wish I could take pictures, but I cannot take pictures if those kids are in our foster care. That's number one. But what I can do, I can get you testimonies of those families that were there, and I can reach out to the organizations and get them to do hey, this is what we did during that, and we sat in that box.
Thank you, Mr. Cody. So that at this point in time, that would be a no. Okay, thank you, Mr. Cody. And going back to debate time, 15 seconds. Point of privilege raised by Chair James.
Thank you, Speaker, for the time and members of council. I raise this point of privilege to Rule 16 and to help me vote on this amendment at this point. Can OMB and the controller submit a listing to council of how this fundings were spent? And then at the same time from OMB, how many documents were submitted from Division of Children and Family Service for budget transfers pertaining to these budgets that are here? So if I can make that Rule 16 point of privilege in regards to documents and to request for additional documents to proceed forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair James. And that is requests to OMB, Mr. Bial, and also the controller that is here in the chamber is here with us. So if you could also provide that information, it can be emailed to the whole council or just and the chair as well.
$18,000 to attend a rodeo event where he stated it was for the kids. I think that $18,000, I think that the kids probably would have appreciated school supplies, school clothing. They probably would have appreciated maybe even, Cody Jesus is a good guy. If you asked him, to go and, visit with the kids for free, I'm sure he would have did that. And that's what I could not, I waited for, people to respond, but everybody was all focused on that whole Jermaine Simonson, drama that happened, that, they didn't catch this. And I was really surprised, and I debated on whether I should bring it to your attention. But I feel like in light of the various, requests that have been coming in saying that, people are being denied burial services or people are being denied LIHEAP, they're being told that there's no more funding. It made me think back to the fact that the Division of Children and Family Services used $18,000. Where they got this money, I don't know. Where they, why would you use Navajo Nation money? You're just basically recycling that money. You use the money that was given to you and you went to a rodeo event, and that rodeo event, generated funds, and maybe some of that money, I don't know, maybe some of that money will come back to the Navajo Nation. We don't know. But $18,000 when we have families that are out there who can't afford coal or who can't afford wood to keep warm, pellets to keep warm. They can't pay their electricity for, whatever reason, because life happens. And you want to sit there and try to justify that $18,000 was used for an event for the children to watch, just because they could grow up to be like Cody Jesus. Wow. And I just, and he was sitting there justifying his budget. And he was saying, well, you can take from my furniture. Yeah, you can take from travel. He did not fight for an increase of funding to go to our social workers. He never once said, you know what? I could have used that $18,000 to give our social workers who work long hours, who work hard for little pay. I could give them that $18,000 so that they could increase their salary. Nothing like that. His justification was to attend the Cody Jesus event at $18,000 to purchase one of those VIP boxes so that he could watch the rodeo with the kids. So that is the work that we do at council. We don't do it to be popular, or we don't do it to, be liked. We have to ask those tough questions. We have to put it on the record. We have to ask, how is it you're spending money at these events, but our people over here are saying that you're running out of money? And it just does not fly with me. And thankfully, Delegate Vince James said, you know what, let's look at the budget more. Show us, OMB, show us what they've been spending. Show us Office of Controller, show us what they've been spending. And there's been a lot of budget transfers that have been going back and forth. And so they probably think it's off the books. As one person stated, it's off the books. But council always has a way, because, we're the one that's giving you money because you are coming before us and you're saying the people need help. Give me money. We give your division or your department money. And when the people say those are not happening, we question what's going on with the funding. At least some of us do. Some of us question. And we get in there and we ask those tough questions. We get point of order called on us. We're being told that we're bullies. Code of conduct is but it's the Navajo people's money. It is the Navajo people's money. So I'm going to end with that. I wanted to talk about the budget, but honestly, and I'm sure you guys, I'm going through the budget information right now. I have it up right now. I was reading it. I was going through the legislation. So Boo did, sign the budget. Of course, he booed because I didn't get my full money. But I'm going through it right now, trying to justify, or I guess trying to figure out where he did, his cuts. I know that he did cut our consulting money for the Office of Legislative Counsel, which we refer to as OLC. We have 4 attorneys right now that help 24 delegates. 4 attorneys that help 24 delegates who are hired on. The consulting money was to hire 4 more. These 4 consulting attorneys, they retired from the Navajo Nation. They cannot be hired back by the Navajo Nation because of the laws. We're trying to fix that. So they were hired as consulting attorneys and they write legislation for the delegates. So technically, if you count all 8 of them, are divided by 24 delegates and they help us to write legislations. So he did a budget line item for these 4, so we're back down to 4. So you guys want to know why there was a backlog of cases, or like a backlog of legislations. You guys are saying, fix the law. Well, we're trying to. So now we have to fix the law with only 4 attorneys. And these 4 attorneys go to the different committee meetings that are going on, which is why these 4 over here were hired just to write legislations. Now Boo did a budget line item veto where he got rid of these guys and we're down to just 4. So that's as far as I got right now. I will do a special, a report probably this weekend once I figure out the budget. So this is the budget booklet that was given to us back when we debated the legislation. And then this is the one that Boo signed. So I'm trying to compare this one to this one here to try to make fun of, to try to make it clear what, what does it mean? The one that I thought was very interesting, and I'll go into this, is he's complaining because he's saying that so what I'm trying to figure out is, per the letter, he says that this is his budget total, 4.9 million. Minus personnel is 3.7 million, which leaves him an operating budget of $1,185,818. So this, as I understand, is just for his office. Just for his office. And he's saying that I wanted to hire 12 new positions. That's what I wanted to do. And he's getting mad because these funds were taken from him. So these funds went to Division of Personnel Management because they were planning to lay off Navajos. So $661,000 was taken from his budget and put into here. $300,000 for the Office of the Prosecutor was taken from his funding and put into here. Navajo Police Department, $240,952 was taken from his budget for Navajo Police Department, taken from here. And he's crying about it. But the thing that gets me is, look, $150,000 was given to veterans. And it was taken from his budget so that he could fund 12 new positions. He does not have one person going to the vice president. These are all if he was given the 12 new positions, he would have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. He would have had 40 employees just working for him in his office. 40 employees working just for him. Not for police department, not for Division of Family Services, not for Department of Health, not for Division of Aging Long-Term Care Services, which is DALTEC for our elders, not for veterans, 40 for him. But 12 positions, he still has his first staff. And then 12 were taken from him. And he technically, he's got the most amount of money that any president, any Navajo Nation president has had. And in fact, let me look right now. His budget increase, his office of the president, because remember, it's not office of the president and vice president anymore. It's just office of the president. His budget was increased by $780,000. And he has the audacity to say that we are starving his office because we didn't give him those 12 new employees. And remember, vice president, none. You see her around, she is by herself. If she's with Josie, Josie is volunteering her time right now. She is not getting paid. The vice president has no staff. She does not have a budget. So, I'm going to leave you guys with that. I'm going to try to make sense of the budget, put that together so that I can update all of you on Facebook about what was going on. I hope that you guys enjoyed, tonight's update. Again, I'm sure you guys are, going to, bash me, do whatever, you need to do to vent, to do whatever. But if you don't like what I'm saying and you don't like my reports, just simply delete me. I don't want to cause any negativity in your life, any frustration, any anger, it's just very easy to just simply don't follow me, just don't listen to me, just delete me. This is Delegate Charles Newton saying, you guys be safe. Enjoy your week. Get off of Facebook. Spend some time with the family. I'm missing my husband because he's not here with me. He's at work. A little bit sad, but I'm glad that he's working. You guys be safe out there. Give your four-legged family members a hug. Give them loving. You guys enjoy your evening. Good night.